A very good evening, everyone. So, we are here. We are today going to start with a very important series where we will be dealing with ethics answer writing. Okay. So, in the next 10-12 sessions, we will be dealing with, first of all, section A of the ethics paper, which deals with the 10 markers that are there. And then we will also be talking about section B, which is the case studies part. So we will be discussing what exactly are no what exactly is the way to attempt case studies. Okay. The objective of this discussion that we are having is that you understand what exactly is the necessity, what exactly are the areas, and what exactly is the demand of ethics answer writing. Okay, because this has been one of the most ambiguous parts, because not unlike paper 1, gs paper 1, 2, 3 and 4, gs paper 1, 2, 3, general studies paper 4 has some more no some more, you can say, uh, some more things that has to be taken into consideration while you are writing answers. And there has been so many there is so much confusion related to it. A lot of times, specifically those who are new aspirants, who are either in the process of writing the first mains examination or you are preparing for it, you have found this to be a difficult job, that is to understand what are the basic requirements. Okay, so what I will be doing in this series is I will be taking up our discussion, and we'll be taking up our discussion on, first of all, we will be seeing what exactly are the demands, and then we will also look at a few questions from different topics. Some questions which would be PYQ questions, some questions which I have come up with, which is again based on the trend that UPSC follows. Okay, so this is basically our objective. We will discuss at length these ideas, so that after this particular series is over, you find yourself, no, most of you would find yourself to be comfortable when you are writing answers. Okay, so let us begin our discussion with a no with an understanding, the understanding of what is the basic demand. What is the demand? That means when it comes to your ethics paper, when it comes to your ethics answer writing, what exactly is the demand? What are you being tested on? What are you being tested on? See, try no, let me put this in this manner. Suppose I am an individual who is right now hungry, and I would like to have some uh no some maybe some specific cuisine, like suppose I'm no I would like to have, suppose, Chinese food. Okay, so if I crave for Chinese food, I demand Chinese food, and someone serves me, suppose it is lunchtime, so suppose someone serves me dal chawal. Now it does not matter how good that very no that very food is, but I would still not be satisfied. Why? Because my demand and what I was craving for was absolutely different. It was absolutely different to what I got. Clear? So this is exactly the same for answer writing, especially when it comes to ethics answer writing. Because what I demand and what you write, if it does not match, so what UPSC demands and what you write, if those demands, no, if it is not a match, what will be the consequence of it? The consequence of it is going to be that the examiner is not going to be satisfied, and hence your score is not what you would expect, because you would have written everything and you would be expecting that I get a, no, I get a score on the higher side. But that is not going to happen. That would not happen. Why? For a very simple reason, which is that you were not able to fulfill the demand of what exactly was being asked. Clear? So what I have seen is that because of the nature of ethics paper, most of the times some questions which may overlap with the governance part of your syllabus, some questions may overlap with, some questions which are maybe social issues type of questions, some questions which may demand some security related ideas. And what I have seen is that without understanding that you are writing the general studies paper 4, most of you tend to do what? Most of you tend to know what you write. No, you write what you know. So you are, if you're writing about governance or some part of governance, you primarily focus or emphasize on the administrative dimension without taking into consideration the ethical dimension. So you don't emphasize on the ethical dimension of the questions, you start emphasizing on the governance dimension of it. Similarly, if there is a question related to, suppose, media and the challenges, so most of the times, because this is no, this is also a part of your syllabus in the security component of the general studies paper 3, which is related to challenges of ICT and social networking, etc. So you take that dimension, you start writing that. So if there is a question which demands maybe environment related ideas, so you start taking an environmental dimension, and your answer would now, if someone, the examiner, reads your answer, so he is not no, he's not seeing as, that as an answer of ethics. He looks at it more from an environment, from governance, from, from other dimensions. And that is what is the fundamental mistake that is being made. Okay, so remember, the very first thing is to understand what is the demand. Okay, so answer writing, uh you will be able to write effective answers by trying to understand what every question demands and what is the holistic demand of the GS paper 4, that is, what is the holistic demand of the ethics paper. And along with that, you also understand what each and every question that is being asked, what is the basic demand of those questions. When you add that, that is when you will be able to do what? You will be able to write more substantive answers. Okay, or more, you can say, relevant answers. Substance तो रहता है, लेकिन relevant किस पेपर के लिए relevant है, that is what is to be understood. Okay, so what exactly is the basic problem? The basic problem is that when it comes to your ethics paper, that is your GS paper 4, unlike other papers, GS paper 4 is more subjective. GS paper 4 is more subjective. That means you do not have one right answer. Okay, when I say it is more subjective, what I mean is that there is no one right answer. Okay, there is no one right answer, which means there is a possibility that an answer which has been written by you, even if it is different from answer that is written by someone else, but both of you score the same marks. The reason is the subjectivity that is there. There is a subjectivity here, and that has to be, that has to be appreciated. So do not try No, do not try, and you should not be thinking in this line that there is, or there is always one correct answer and there is only one right answer. Okay, that is something which again is a fundamental requirement here. You have to understand that part. Clear? Secondly, what exactly is UPSC testing you on? Understanding that part. What does UPSC want? What does UPSC want? What is it testing you on? And the answer here is that there are two things that you have to understand. There are two primary things which you are being tested on. And what are those? First is your capability. I will elaborate this, don't worry. But no, try and focus here. First, you are being tested on your capabilities. How capable you are as a civil servant, or more appropriately, how capable you would emerge as a civil servant. So that is the capability part. But the only thing that you are tested on is not your capabilities, but you are also being tested on your values. So the second thing that you are being tested on is your values. So these two things should be of fundamental importance while you are approaching answer writing. Of fundamental importance. What? The capability and the values. Okay, what capability you have, and along with the capability, what values you have. It is something which should be very, very, very important. Okay, remember this: capability and values. Now when I say capability, what do I mean by this? Okay, try and understand this. Most of the ethics questions that are there, it demands that you emerge as a good decision maker. So when we say capability, you are being tested on your capability as a decision maker. What are you being tested for? You are being tested on your capability as a decision maker. How good you are as a decision maker, and how good you are as a decision maker. Meaning what? Meaning, when there is a situation that is presented in front of you, do you understand the dimensions of that particular, maybe the situation? And if you understand the dimensions, what decisions would you make in order to address each and every dimension, a very holistic way of decisions that you make? So what dimensions are there, and what decisions you take to address those dimensions? Okay, so you are being tested as what? You are being tested as how capable you are as a decision maker. How capable you are as a decision maker. ठीक है? और ये बात बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि what happens is that most of the times we do not understand this particular part. We simply, we tend to do what? We tend to focus too much on, when we are writing that section A 10 markers, we tend to focus too much on the theoretical part without the practicality of things. So we do not emphasize on the practicality of things, and we emphasize too much on the theoretical aspects of things. That is one very fundamental problem with your approach. If you have that kind of an answer writing strategy, where there is too much emphasis that you place on theoretical aspects of your answer or theoretical points, remember that is not no it's not going to be very no very rewarding for you, because then the no you are giving an opportunity to the examiner to judge you on this ground that this individual may not necessarily know about the practical dimensions of administration. Okay, so he or she may not be very much aware about the practical dimensions. Okay, so that is where you have to understand this. Like suppose you are given a particular question, and in that no, in that question, suppose you are asked about what you are asked about that in this situation what will you do as a decision maker, or there is a situation that is presented, and in that very situation the question that is asked is how important is a particular thing for a decision maker. Like suppose how important is emotional intelligence for police servants, or those individuals who are a part of police services, how important is it is. Now there is a theoretical discussion to this question. Like you can correlate in this question, you can correlate the components of emotional intelligence, and you can write that how, because emotional intelligence is about self awareness, it is about self regulation, it's about motivation, it's about empathy, it is about social skills, and therefore it is important for any police personnel to have these no have this the emotional intelligence. Now there is nothing wrong with it, but what you have completely negated, you have not emphasized on, is the practicality of things. How policing is about human interactions, and therefore emotional intelligence becomes important. How policing is about uh, no dealing with distress situations, because most of the time people, they approach police when they are in distress. So how it is important, and how what can be done, what can be done to address that, and how important is emotional intelligence there. So in distress situation, understanding the understanding the emotions that the other individual is undergoing, and how that becomes important in managing that situation. Most of the times when it comes to police are regularly in scrutiny of the media, and how most of the times it is police is looked at as as the scapegoat. How police is blamed for almost everything, and in that situation where people generally look at the organization with negative emotions, how important it becomes to regulate your own emotions and have empathy and social skills to manage conflicts and understand what other people are thinking and why they are thinking so. So, what you need to understand is that you are being tested as a decision maker, and a good decision maker is someone who has an understanding of different dimensions of the situation. So, whenever a question on ethics requires trying to read different dimensions of that very question and then write on it, as a decision maker you have to be what you have to develop that capability to think like that and to answer questions accordingly. ठीक है, सबसे पहली चीज. Secondly, you are being tested on your values. Now when I say you are being tested on your values, what values are you talking no are we talking about? See, first of all, as a civil servant, it is absolutely important that you have some values. If you have those values, what will be the result of it? If you have those values, the result of it would be that will be you will always be in a position to no to behave in a certain manner, because values affect our behavior. Our values are a very very important influence on our behavior, and therefore there is it is so important that a civil servant has the right values. And now what has to be understood, and the examiner there understands that not all values will be able to develop during your training. So even if you have wrong values, it is not likely to change a lot when you are no you are under training and all of it. So it becomes important that they recruit people with the right values. So the question is, what values are we talking about? What are important values of a civil servant? So you have to write answers which uphold these values. The value of integrity, the value of commitment to public service, the value of commitment to public service, the value of empathy, especially towards the vulnerable section, especially towards the vulnerable section, and along with it, the values of accountability and transparency, the democratic values, accountability and transparency. It is what? It is democratic values. As a civil servant, you are serving people. You are not being ruled. No, you are not ruling them. You are serving people. And that requires you to be accountable. That requires you to be transparent. Okay? Always open to scrutiny. So if there is a scrutiny of your actions, you are being you are being held accountable. You should not consider it to be wrong in any way, because that's what democracy is. Civil servants are supposed to serve the people, and people are the ones who enjoy real powers in a democratic system. So if they are the ones questioning you, maybe no maybe uh, holding you accountable and answerable, there is nothing wrong with it. It is, in fact, it is aligned with the democratic principles. So always remember that you are being tested on your values as well. You are being tested on your values, and whatever answers or decisions you are taking, your answers, your decisions should always be aligned with these values. It should never be in contradiction to it. है ना? So when you are writing, you have to think, are the actions that you are talking about, are those actions upholding the values of integrity, the values of social welfare, or commitment to public service, or empathy and compassion towards vulnerable section? And are you accountable or and answerable or not? These are the crux. ठीक है? Most of the one more important value is the value of courage. Courage. As a decision maker, do you have courage in difficult situations? So are you willing to compromise on integrity because it is in administrative convenience, or do you have the courage to take difficult decisions even if those decisions are not popular, but according to you those decisions are in public interest? Therefore you should have the courage to take those decisions. So this is, see, your capability and your values, and this is basically the crux of ethics answer writing. That whenever you are making suggestions, your suggestions should always be aligned with this, whether it is case studies, or for that matter, even when it is the section A part, that is the answer writing section, you have to ensure that you are upholding these values. Okay. Now, till this particular point, I hope whatever we have talked about till this particular point, I hope that you are no you are in sync with what I'm trying to say. No, you are in sync with what I'm trying to say. I hope that if you have any questions, if you feel that there are any questions that you would like to ask, so you are no you no you are ready to ask those questions. If you feel that there are any problems that you are facing, I hope till this particular point everything is fine. Okay. Now, if you have any questions, please, you are free to ask me. I will address that question. Okay. Now, let us come to the next part. This next part becomes very important, because here what we are going to do is we are going to classify what exactly are the types of questions that is being asked. Okay, with examples we are trying to understand that. Okay, so if you look at section A, and of course we are talking right now about section A, we will also address the no case study part of it, but right now we are talking about section A. Okay, and in section A you will find that there are a few classifications. I have while analyzing the PYQs, we have come up with a few classifications. First of all, the first classification is related to questions dealing with applied ethics. Questions dealing with applied ethics. Okay, and this is today the most no you can say the most number of questions asked by UPSC is from this applied ethics part. Now, what do I mean when I say applied ethics part? Like if we talk about AI, artificial intelligence, there are so many questions that have been emphasized, that has been asked from this part, artificial intelligence part, and the challenges related to artificial intelligence, or for that matter the ethical no the ethical consequences, the ethical dilemmas that has come up because of artificial intelligence. Okay. Secondly, you must, if if you are going through your PYQs, you will find that there was a question asked related to social media. There is a question asked related to social media. There has been question related to war. Every year since the Russia-Ukraine war has started, you will find that every year they have asked at least one question from dealing with this very idea of war. Like the last year in the mains examination 2025, there was a question asked where there was a statement which was given. The statement that was given was that the war is a form of diplomacy. It is a form of diplomacy, or it is alternative type of diplomacy. This was something which was asked. This was something that was asked. Clear? Now this was a question which was basically asked. So what you can see here is that there is also questions related to environment, ethical dilemmas related to environment. There was a question asked last year itself. What was the question about? The question that was asked last year was about how environment and security concerns. So environment and defense, है ना? Like if you look at environmental clearances of infrastructure project, and specifically those projects which deal with security, defense of a country, how in order to pursue a country's defense or better defense capabilities, environment is compromised on. What happens? Environment is compromised on. Okay. So you will find that such questions are basically applied ethics. Today, this is the most important aspect of your ethics section A part. Most number of questions comes from this part. The last 2-3 years, this is the trend that they have followed. Okay. Second type of question is what are quotation based questions. Quotation based questions. Quotation based questions. Now, when we say quotation based questions, what are these quotation based questions? So you will find that every year at least three questions are asked, which are quotes given by different scholars. Okay. Or no, maybe some philosophers. Quotes given by scholars, philosophers, social reformers, social reformers, even business personalities. Business personalities. There was a question that was asked, which was a statement which was given by, it was a statement which was given by, no, by one of the stock investors in, he became a billionaire. And in his organization, what values he emphasized on, that was a statement which was asked. Questions coming from statements given by Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Vivekanand, or for that matter, even a statement given by APJ Abdul Kalam, our former president. Such statements are asked, quotation based. And these statements that are there, how do we attempt them? How do we how do we look at these statements? How do we interpret? Most of you, बहुत आप में से बहुत सारे ऐसे students हैं who feel that these questions that are there, these questions require to be attempted by giving the view of that particular scholar only. So what, no, whether that is correct, not correct, we'll talk about it. Okay. So quotation based questions are the second type of questions which are asked. Quotation based questions. Okay. Third comes questions which are syllabus specific. These are what? These are syllabus specific questions. Now, what do I mean when I say syllabus specific questions? Syllabus specific question meaning you are asked questions taking up terminologies and the ideas, the concepts which are mentioned in your syllabus. Okay. Like if we talk about some examples of it, examples may be, you are you have been asked questions like, what are the components of emotional intelligence, important values, what are important values of civil servants, what are ethical issues faced by business enterprises. business enterprises. These are the questions, and these questions that are we are talking about, these questions are basically a replication of what your syllabus says. Okay, the only change that UPSC has made in the current context, that is right now, what has UPSC done? What UPSC has done is that UPSC today, they have no they have tried to make these questions more complex. So they don't ask these questions no just presenting it in the form as it is mentioned in your syllabus. No, they will ask it in such a manner that you would require some kind of analysis to that. Okay, like there was a question asked. Let me give you an example. There was a question asked related to the topic attitude. The question was, it is not your aptitude, but rather your attitude which determines your success. Question was, it is not your aptitude, but your attitude that determines your success and your accomplishments. Your success, your accomplishments. This was basically a question. Now, this was basically a question. Now, if you look at the question, no, they have tried to make it more complicated, but it is actually a question which is asking you what is the importance of attitude and how your attitude contributes to your behavior, which helps you either succeed or fail. So the question is related to importance of attitude. It is importance of attitude, but they have asked it in a more complicated terms rather than simplifying it just by asking what is the importance of attitude. They have asked it in this very manner. Okay, so you can see applied ethics, the most important part today, quotation based questions, and also some questions which are syllabus specific questions trying to ask you what trying to ask you specific, no, what exactly is the content of the syllabus and so on. Clear? Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Now, what we are going to do is we are going to start start our answer writing series by looking at these questions and these specific criterias one by one. That means we have made this classification. Now, every day from today that we meet, what we are going to do is we are going to pick up one particular classification. We are going to pick that up and we are going to see what questions have been asked and what is the basic demand. Like today, what we are going to do is we are going to start with quotation based questions, something which most of the students have found very difficult, which is what exactly are the quotation based questions and how do we need to address these quotation based questions. So from today onwards, for the next one or two classes, we are going to see what exactly are the quotation based questions that are asked and what is the fundamental requirement to address that. Okay, so quotation based questions. Quotation based questions. Okay, what I'm going to do is every video, every live session, I will first of all give you what exactly is the requirements. Then the next class that we meet, no, I'll deal with the requirements. Then I will give you one example, and We will see how you are supposed to write that particular question. And every class that we meet next, I take up some questions, I address that question, how you are supposed to address it, and you will see, you will relate that what requirements I have mentioned and how I am, no, how we are discussing it, does it match or not, and does it simplify your answer writing, no, answer writing technique, or you can say the skills, does that contribute to your answer writing skills or not. Okay, so this is what we are going to emphasize on, starting with, let's start with the quotation based questions and what exactly is the requirement of quotation based questions. Okay, now quotation based questions have these requirements. What requirements? First, understanding the quote. Understanding the quote, what exactly does that mean? सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट बात है that you understand it, because if you interpret the quote wrongly, अगर आपने कोटेशन को इंटरप्रेट करने में ही गलती कर दी, then you are never going to do what? You are never going to write the correct answer. ठीक है, तो फंडामेंटल रिक्वायरमेंट इज द अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द कोट. ओके, एंड we will take an example from the 2025 paper itself. Okay, so understanding of the quote is very important. क्या मतलब है? अगर किसी स्कॉलर ने कुछ कहा है तो वो क्या कहने की कोशिश कर रहा है, क्या उस कोट का मतलब क्या है, द मीनिंग ऑफ इट. ओके, सेकेंडली, interpretation. That means, remember what is said by one individual, what he meant by it, and what dimensions of that particular quote could be, वो अलग अलग हो सकता है. एक सोशल रिफॉर्मर ने मान लो एक स्टेटमेंट दिया है, तो वो स्टेटमेंट उन्होंने सोसाइटी के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में दिया. he aspires to change the society and therefore reform it, and therefore he has emphasized on a particular aspect of it. ठीक है, लेकिन उसके डिफरेंट डायमेंशंस हो सकते हैं. हो सकता है इट्स नॉट जस्ट रेलेवेंट फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर society, it may have its relevance for economy, that may also have its relevance for administration, that may also have its relevance, no, maybe maybe political relevance. Clear? So interpretation meaning dimensions. We have to do what? We have to look at the quote not from a unidimensional aspect, but from a multidimensional perspective. Try and understand what could be, what could be the different dimensions that particular quote may be relevant for. Okay, so that is the reason why this dimensions part is very, very important. It's so important that you understand what dimensions a particular quote could have. जैसे सॉक्रेटिस का एक स्टेटमेंट आया था, आई थिंक 2019 or 2020. There was a statement of Socrates. Statement of Socrates was, an unexamined life is not worth living. ठीक है, ये स्टेटमेंट था. An unexamined life is not worth living. ठीक है? Now, he has given that statement with a completely different context. He has emphasized on the virtue of knowledge. By giving this particular statement, he is emphasizing on knowledge as a virtue. An unexamined life is not worth living. Knowledge as a virtue. He is emphasizing on it. It's a more philosophical quote. But this very quote may have so many dimensions as of today that this quote is relevant in. It may be relevant for science and unexamined. When you are taking up scientific research, understanding what consequences your research could have, and accordingly considering its importance and then pursuing it, साइंटिफिक डायमेंशन ऑफ इट हो सकता है. तो आपको क्या करना है? इंटरप्रिटेशंस, डिफरेंट डायमेंशंस दैट आर देयर, दैट हैज टू बी अंडरस्टूड. ओके, देन कम्स व्हाट? देन कम्स द ethical and the administrative or ethical and governance dimension. This has to be specially emphasized on the ethical dimension, the governance related dimension that is there. Okay, it is something which is very important because the topic is ethics. So the ethical dimension, the moral dimension of it becomes very important, and the purpose is civil services. So the governance dimension becomes, it becomes important automatically. So whenever you are looking at the interpretation of a particular statement, trying to address it, you will have to look at the ethical and the governance dimension specifically. Okay, that is very important. Then comes the current relevance or the contemporary relevance. The contemporary relevance of the contemporary relevance of the quote. आज के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हो सकता है, जैसे मैंने कहा सोक्रेटिस का स्टेटमेंट है, किस समय दिया? हाउ इज दैट स्टेटमेंट स्टिल रेलेवेंट? डज इट डील विथ दोज इश्यूज विच आर ऑफ टुडेज contemporary relevance? Environment, climate change, maybe economics, maybe politics. These are things which you have to find contemporary relevance of those very ideas. And finally, what are you supposed to do? Current examples. Examples. Okay, so when you are dealing with a quotation based question, a quotation based question needs to be done what? A quotation based question needs to, you need to consider five important things in a quotation based question: understanding, interpretation, ethics and governance dimension, contemporary relevance of it, and the current examples if possible. बट एग्जाम्पल्स डेफिनेटली है ना, जरूरी नहीं है एग्जाम्पल्स करंट वाले ही हो, लेकिन एग्जाम्पल्स होना जरूरी है. ठीक है, लाइक लेट मी डू व्हाट, लेट मी टेक एन एग्जाम्पल. ठीक है, देयर वाज अ क्वेश्चन दैट वाज आस्क्ड. द क्वेश्चन वाज, a quotation was asked. Quotation was what? Those who in trouble untroubled are. Untroubled are, will trouble. This was, no, will trouble itself. this particular statement was asked. Okay, now what is the meaning of it? The meaning of this statement, देखो थोड़ा अटपटा सा क्वेश्चन है लेकिन मीनिंग समझो. What is the meaning? The meaning is that those individuals who are emotionally stable even when they face some kind of some kind of problems. So even if the situation is adverse for them, but they still remain emotionally stable, they have the capability to trouble, which means they have the capability to resolve, and no, they have the capability to overcome that adversity. है ना? ये मीनिंग है. आपको क्या लिखना है? The introduction of the question is where you explain what exactly is the meaning of that very question. ठीक है? Secondly, different dimensions of it. Different dimensions here, specifically dimensions would be what? The ethical significance of it. So you will write about how this is something which signifies emotional intelligence. It is something which signifies positive attitude of an individual. It signifies moral, it signifies courage, moral or otherwise. It signifies leadership, crisis leadership. है ना? आपने 4-5 पॉइंट लिख दिए. Where what is the importance? How would an individual who is emotionally intelligent, emotionally stable in adverse situation has the capability to overcome problems? कैसे करोगे? आपने लिखा इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस, पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड, करेज. You will write about no you will write about the very idea of crisis leadership. You have written 3 or 4 points, different dimensions of it. Then you come to examples and you will do what? You will give examples. APJ Abdul Kalam, during space mission, how much, no, there were number of adversities, failures, but despite those failures, being capable of facing that situation. That is it. There can be other examples. Arunima Sinha lost her leg during an accident, was able to conquer Mount Everest. है ना? What is it? ये जो जो माउंटेनियरिंग होता है, it's about physical. She does not have a leg, but is able to conquer it. But is able to do what? But is able to conquer it. What does this tell us? What it tells us is that this is an example of fortitude, courage, emotional intelligence in such an adversity when you have lost your limb, but still, when you have faced failures, your initial space missions that were there, all of them failed, but still you were able to overcome it. Example, at least 2 or 3 examples, APJ Abdul Kalam and so on. And then what you do is, then you write about what? You write about the conclusion of it. ठीक है? तो आपको क्या करना है? इसी तरीके से, इसी स्पेसिफिक फॉर्मेट को फॉलो करना है. ओके, एंड यू कैन राइट कोटेशन बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस. ठीक है? देखो, फियर जैसी आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड, लेकिन आपको इसको ओवरकम करना पड़ेगा. there will always be fear, you will have to overcome it. ठीक है? Related to answer writing is a problem till the time you start writing it. एक बार लिखना शुरू कर दिया आपने और तरीके से जानते हो कि किस तरीके से इसको अटेम्प्ट करना है, you will be able to write very good answers related to ethics. Now, what is your homework? See, we are going to meet thrice in a week. Today is Thursday. We will meet on Saturday. We will meet on Monday or Tuesday. ठीक है? Thursday, Saturday, Monday और Tuesday. यानी 3 दिन हफ्ते में हम मिलेंगे. And every day I will give you a homework. Today your homework is this. I have talked about quotation based questions. What you are going to do is, you are going to apply some of it. Try and write answers on it. और उसके बाद when we meet next, first thing that I do is No, you will write what problems you are facing, and we will try and do what? We will try and address those problems. Okay? That is it for today's session. Please look at the video again, summarize the session, and accordingly pursue what you're supposed to do. अगले क्वेश्चंस में जब हम मिलेंगे तो हम ये सारी चीजें डिस्कशन नहीं करेंगे, व्हाट इज द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ इट एंड व्हाट इज द नीड फॉर इट. हम डायरेक्टली क्वेश्चंस और उसके आंसर्स पर आएंगे. हाउ व्हाट क्वेश्चंस एंड हाउ यू कैन अटेम्प्ट द आंसर्स ऑफ दोज क्वेश्चंस. ठीक है? सो let us, for till the time we meet next, please try and write quotation based questions. Thank you.